are interviewing Ken Ruetenik, who is running in the Democratic primary on September 3rd for the 13th Norfolk seat in the state legislature currently held by Denise Garlick. He is one of four candidates running in the Democratic primary. The other Democratic candidates are Buren Pentel, Joshua Tarski, and Patrick Gatto. Welcome, Ken.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm
You're
excited
welcome,
to be
Ken.
here.
Why are you running for state representative?
Sure. I get asked this question a lot. Obviously, I'm very young. I'm 24. I'm the youngest of the field, and if elected, I would be the youngest serving state rep. And a large part of why I'm out here is just to drive civic engagement. A lot of my friends who are my age are unhappy with sort of the political climate in all, as well as sort of their place in their community, whether that be Massachusetts in general, or more specifically, Norfolk 13. And so I'm just out here trying to remind my peers who are my age, and even a little bit older, that it's important for us to get to the polls, and it's important for us to be trying to fill these roles in, public offices.
What is your background, and how has it prepared you to serve in the state legislature?
Sure. So I'm a member of the community just like everyone else. I have ideas on what I think needs to be done to improve our community and better support the members of our community. And, that sort of prepared me because as a nearly lifelong resident of District 13, I like to think of myself as approachable and a good listener and someone who could do a good job advocating for others.
What is the number one skill or experience you would bring to the state legislature?
Sure. So, I had a really tough time in high school. I think a lot of kids end up having a tough time at some point, whether that be in middle school or high school. And I know that even though I didn't have a great time, a lot of my friends had a much harder time. And so I think through sort of trying to make sure that I graduated and tried to just make sure that I could keep my head above water throughout that process, I've learned how to not only advocate for myself, but also advocate for others. And I think that's a really huge responsibility, probably the largest responsibility, I would say, for a state rep to have. Because at the end of the day, we'll be electing someone to go out there and work in our interests, but also to be available for us to talk to and available for us to, communicate our concerns to. And so I think that sort of through my trials and tribulations in the past, I've sort of become a strong advocate and gotten used to this role where I'm able to stand up for my needs as well as whatever needs the people in my life have.
As a state representative, what would be the most important issues you would work on?
Sure. So the two main issues for me are climate and housing. And so, one of the main things about climate is that it affects everyone, not only, District 13 residents, but residents of Massachusetts, the United States, and the world alike. And I think that Massachusetts is doing a wonderful job, but we need to continue to stay sort of on the forefront of what we can do to become net neutral and then hopefully carbon negative in the near future. So that is, my main goal, my main issue. And second to that is housing. A lot of my friends, we can't afford to live in Needham or the surrounding area because, there aren't many starter homes available. So peers my age will move out for college and try to move back home, but there's no housing stock for us. And it also equally affects the older population in these towns as well. So once a family has raised a family, you know, and the parents are looking to sort of downsize after the kids have moved out, it's nearly impossible to stay around for them as well. So those two issues are my main two issues, and I see them as, affecting a wide range of people.
Ken, talk about housing. I used to live in a group home in Rosendale, and it didn't work out for me because there were several issue problems at my group home in Rosendale. So I'm currently living back in Medfield with my parents. So
Yeah, and I think that's fairly common where when a housing situation doesn't work out for someone, there aren't many options usually. It seems to me that whatever isn't working out is sort of already at the end of the line, and they've already exhausted all the other options. Um, and so it has become quite common for people to move back home, um, and live with their parents, I would say.
how familiar are you with Medfield and other towns in the 13th Norfolk District?
You know, in all honesty, I'm not that familiar with Medfield. I went to Charles River School in Dover in seventh and eighth grade, but other than cycling to Medfield periodically through my high school career, I wasn't in Medfield that much. So this experience has definitely taught me a lot about the community that is so close to mine and is a part of my community. And it's been very exciting to sort of get to catch up and get to learn so much, because there are definitely differences between the three towns, and the needs are different between the three towns, but I would definitely say that across the board, the constituents want the same things. They want, to be able to raise a family in a community that they can afford to stay in, um, and a community that's safe for their children and offers, good public education for their children as well. So, you know, overarching, I would say that there are a lot of similarities, but the way that each of the towns sort of are dealing with those three issues, I've seen, varying approaches, I would say.
Ken, someday I would really like to meet you in person off TV, like so we can get to know each other.
Yeah, I think that would be wonderful.
What is your experience serving people with disabilities, and how would your experience influence your priorities in the state legislature?
Sure. So when I was having my hard time in high school, one of the huge programs that sort of saved me and kept me going throughout those difficult years was the plugged in teen band program in Needham. And I know that there are students who are from Medfield, and I've worked with students from Dover as well. I participated as a student, and then I also would play in bands with um, neurodivergent students, and I would help be a teaching aide sometimes. And so my experience with that would change my priorities in state legislature in the sense of helping grants to support events that encourage, you know, neurodivergent people and neurotypical people to come together and just spend time together and hang out. And so a wonderful example of this was earlier in the year. Plugged In Band actually helped co-sponsor and host something called Pathways to Music, which was in conjunction with Pathways to Friendship, and that was an initiative by the ARC of Massachusetts and Massachusetts DDS.
Do you have any endorsements?
I currently do not have any endorsements now.
What are your favorite activities outside of work?
Outside of work, I would say I enjoy staying active. Um, I try and get out and run and cycle. Um, I play a lot of music still. I find that that's sort of something that I'll always come back to, whether I'm in light spirits or not. I always tend to come back to playing guitar and singing. Along with participating and plugged in as a student, I also played in a couple of bands in high school as well as in college. So I try and keep, creative outlets pretty active as well.
That sounds great. So you're a singer.
Yes, I am.
That's great. You sing like cover bands or?
Yeah. So my high school band would play a lot of like Eagles, and we would also play the band sometimes. And so cover wise, I would say that's sort of our bread and butter. And then from a writing perspective, I would say we're more along the lines of singer-songwritery or just like more broad pop band.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Can you summarize why you should be elected state representative?
Sure. So obviously, Representative Garlick has done a wonderful time over her 14-year tenure. And, she's a perfect example of a full-time rep. And so, as someone who's young and I don't have a family, I can dedicate my time to serving the community, to advocate for the community's needs, and to be there on Beacon Hill. I'm eager to learn. I'm chomping at the bit. Other guys in this race definitely have political background, but I would say all of us are going to struggle to sort of fill the shoes of Denise Garlick. And, eager to learn, eager to be out there, happy to be here, and just want to, make District
I've
13
been
proud.
friends with Denise since I was 8.5 years old. I've been friends with Denise. She was my Camp Arrowhead nurse at Camp Arrowhead in Natick since I was like 8 years old. So, I've got to know her very well, and she's a great person. So I hope you got a chance to get to meet her yet.
Yes, yes, she's a wonderful person.
We wish to thank Ken for appearing on this episode of Special Times and congratulate him for seeking to serve as state representative. We wish him the best of luck in his campaign. Remember to vote in the primary on September 3rd. Stay tuned for future episodes of Special Times when we will interview each of the candidates for 13th Norfolk State Representative seat. Goodbye.